We have Q&A and a little bit of a chat. So I will try not to ask too many questions, even though I'm tempted, because I know people have got quite a few in the audience. But I guess there are a couple, I think there's three kind of interesting topics that I wanted to kind of grab you guys on. And one of them, like Sylvain, you were just talking a lot about this, but SaaS, the world of SaaS is getting incredibly competitive. Everyone's got like 10 competitors these days. And I was just wondering how much you guys think about this on a daily basis. Like, is it keeping you up at night? Or, well, Sylvain, you've just been talking about brand, but maybe like, I don't know, if we start back over with David, like how much do you think about competition? Is it something everyone in the audience should be terrified of at the moment? Or is it something just part and parcel of running a company these days?
Yes, I mean, is my mic working? Very good. I feel like I've already, because there's another Paul Graham quote. I don't spend my time just memorising Paul Graham quotes, by the way. I do some work as well. But yeah, the only way to avoid competition is to avoid good ideas, which I think is really true. And so like striking that balance is really important. And I think I personally have got it sort of wrong. I don't know, there's a risk of getting it wrong in both directions. So I remember when we launched, there was a competitor who were seed camp funded, who'd launched a few months prior to us. And with the benefit of hindsight, I spent way too much time thinking and worrying about them and monitoring what they were doing. And the reality is that they've since kind of ceased to exist. And I now look at it and go, well, you know, what return did I really get on that time spent thinking about them when I could have been spending it thinking like positively about what we could and should be doing. But then actually, I mean, it's interesting because we've had a new like competitor launch today actually, which we've been known was in the offing, and I'm also conscious, the risk of hypocrisy because like Ben and I have spent quite a bit of time today, like signing up for trial accounts and looking at their product. So I'll be like, yeah, don't worry about competition at all. It's like, okay, yeah. So what did you spend your day doing today? So I think the way I would try to characterize it is it's almost like, what's a good analogy? The air traffic controller, right? Like you've got to be aware of all the other planes in the sky, but just focus on your plane. You've got the responsibility to land your plane, but you can only you have to be cognizant of the fact that there are other planes out there, and in a kind of a removed sense, so that you're not obsessed about it, conscious of what they're doing, because there's a risk of negligence, right? Like we had to do that today with this to make sure that they hadn't come to market with something game-changing that we didn't have, and so that we could react to it. But once we'd satisfied ourselves that they hadn't, which they hadn't, by the way, so if you need a credit control product, you should definitely sign up to us, then that's all we need to do. So yeah, I think that would be the way I'd characterize it.
That's great. I love that analogy, yeah. Anders, what about you guys? Like the FinTech space is obviously not exactly quiet these days.
Yeah, I think being in London in FinTech is we could spend like all day walking door to door, like checking out products. I think that we have like a Slack channel where we toss in competitive stuff and like kind of keep people aware of it. I think that's a good way to just like toss it in there. I don't think we obsess about it. I think more about competitors as steal the good things they're doing, and and like look at the things they're doing poorly, try to fix those, and like really just use them as a source of ideas, and like see how you can like this guy's shit in this area but really good at this. This one's shit at this, really good at that. Take the good things and then like combine them into your product, and help them kind of feed your features. I think that's one good thing when you're actually like from a design perspective, building things. I think we like don't really worry too much about competitors, especially in like, I don't see things as a winner takes all market in like FinTech specifically. There's been a lot of banks for centuries, and this for our vertical like financial advice, we're coming at it fundamentally from a different angle than some competitors have, and I think that's we'll see if that our angle is the right one, but we've kind of stuck true to our guns there. So I think you have to have like your vision, execute on it, but then same thing, like if the air traffic controller is like a really good metaphor in terms of keep tabs on what they're doing, and then if there's like a really great idea, like I'd say shamelessly steal it.
Shamelessly. Yeah. Note that down, yeah. Cool, thanks. And what about you, Sylvain? I know you've just been talking a lot about this. Any final points on that?
Well, I think it's like most questions like that, usually it's like, it depends on your market dynamics. Yeah. Like, if you are a super crowded market, like maybe, focus on your competitors to kill them. If you are in a kind of like a nice and easy market where everybody can kind of like share the lion's share of the market, then, it's like, be aware of it. And if you focus on them too much, it's probably you dying, and you should focus on your users to continue getting market share. So I guess it really depends on how you see the things, and also like the state that the company you are in. Like, I'm sure if you're a small company, if you're like 5 people, like there are better things to focus about than the competition. Like, it's basically let us get money so we stay alive for the next month, so we can keep being alive. And like the competition is not the least of your worry. But if you see something like Salesforce, I'm sure Salesforce is something entering the market. They're just going to be like, here's a couple of billions, and then do whatever it takes to basically crush them. And that's kind of like probably the approach to competition.
Yeah. So we can't all do that.
Yeah, sadly. Cool. Or you can call Uncle Mark for that,
Yeah. Speaking of Salesforce, like enterprise selling, maybe this is less for Finimize at the moment, but like I know, Chaser, Pusher, you guys have got products that could in some ways be used by all ends of the spectrum. Be interesting maybe, David, like to talk a bit about that journey from, I know you guys were originally very self-service and now going up the, not quite 6-figure contracts yet, but like, how's it?
Not quite. But yeah, so I mean, like to provide the context, I talked about earlier in the talk of, in my talk about average revenue per user previously for us was sort of £25 a month. So basically you could provide support, but that's about it in terms of scope that you've got to kind of personal touch, your kind of customers and your targets. And now we're sort of targeting the £75 a month level. So that's opened up the ability for us to sort of experiment with customer success and sort of tailored onboarding and making sure they get the most out of the trial. We're not at the stage yet where we can think about sort of outbound sales in terms of our price point, but I guess the learning for us that's been really positive, and you take a step back from it, and when we're a new category of software that it's not like for us, we integrate with accounting systems. There's been desktop accounting software, there is now online cloud accounting software. It's not like we are taking something that's previously inhabited on the desktop and bringing it online. And so actually, I think it requires more in the way of kind of human interaction to break down that reticence. And so that's been a really positive change for us, that kind of shift up market. And like I say, from a kind of it still needs to be self-serve up to signing up for a trial, but it can be kind of human intervention after that point.
Sure. Anders, do you have anything to add on that, or is you guys are more like not really enterprise, right?
We're not really enterprise. I think that I guess my viewpoint, like externally, would be that like I think B2B to C is probably in general like a very B2C to B. I don't know how you want to actually look at that. I think I've worked in enterprise in the past actually, and I think like more and more you're seeing like a pull side of things than like a push, and I think. From Finimize's standpoint, there are some other fintech companies we've seen that have actually gone the B2B route fully, and then we've seen some that have gone, selling like corporate plans for financial advice and other things like that from their kind of, targeting like user, like employees at a company to sell a company plan. I think, and maybe not in finance, but I think in general that's something that I think is going to see more and more of.
Yeah.
Which is probably like Pusher is probably the same, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah.
Could be completely wrong.
I mean, enterprise, it's an interesting question because it's something that we've been, I don't know who I was talking to before, but we used to celebrate every plan so we have multiple freemium plan, and every time we used to, 5 years ago, we used to sell a $200 plan. It was basically, oh my God, free lunch for the whole office. It was amazing. And then now $200 plan is like, I mean, we don't even really talk about it. And the $200 plan become the $1,000 plan, the $1,000 plan become the $10,000 plan. And so now it's really, Jess is here and she's part of the customer success team. And now we, like the big wins is like, it's like $5,000 a month plan. And so, probably in 2 years time we'll be like, oh, we don't even talk about, 20,000, I don't know, maybe. And I think the interesting thing is like, if you think about it, it's like the startup life cycle, like everybody comes to startup and say, oh, we're going to kill Salesforce because Salesforce is bloated. And then you go, actually the perfect example is Intercom. And I had a conversation with the Intercom founder like 3 years ago, like because they had two plans. They had like the forever free plan and they have a $50 plan, which was like unlimited everything. And up until a month ago, Pusher was still on the $50 plan, everything for Pusher. And then we had that conversation with them and you're like, you need to charge more. And they're like, no, $50 is plenty enough to make a lot of money out of our customers. Obviously, for anyone who tried to sign up into Intercom recently, like the bill can skyrocket to $10,000 easily a month. And so like now Intercom's going, like, Intercom was like, we're going to kill the Eloka of the world, the marketer of the world. But then now like Intercom is this kind of like a midlife cycle where people starting to create company to say like, we're going to be Intercom, but just better and cheaper for like the cool guys like ourselves. And then at one point they'll have to move up market again because they want to make more money. They get like pressure, and so they'll be like, well, what are we going to do? We're going to do different pricing. We're going to go up market, and so the cycle of life. And so just kind of like this kind of like loop, endless loop, and then that's why there's always be startup doing some crazy shit, basically.
The life cycle of SaaS companies. Yeah.
So that's kind of like how we see things.
Cool. Good luck on more 5K contracts, Sylvain. Peanuts, right?
Peanuts. Like Jess is here texting a little bit, closing deals left, right, and center. Easy.
Cool. I know I've been asking a bunch of questions, so I think it would be good to open up to the floor. Like, anyone got any questions for our wonderful speakers who kick it off? No one ever wants to be first, right? I know someone's got something. No? Yeah, go for it, Sinead.
So Sylvain, you talked a lot about your brand and like how you guys got it out there. Did you guys think consciously about the kind of brand you wanted to create?
Absolutely
or
not.
Did it happen naturally?
No, we really just lucked out into it. And at one point we were like, actually, we have a really good brand. And then we had that foundation, and then we built on top of that foundation. And actually, we're doing a big rebrand at the minute, where we are hired like an external agency to do that because we're transitioning from like a single product company to become a multi-product company. We're releasing new product in the next 3 months. And so that's kind of like was a great place to say like, well, Push the company is not the Push of the product anymore. So we're renaming our existing product. There's new things coming up. And so we needed like external help to kind of like help us with like a new brand strategy and like kind of like to communicate this kind of like brand values and mission. And we didn't feel like we could do it internally. So again, like just kind of like building on top of that kind of like lovable developer brand that we already have. Hopefully we don't fuck up and we can keep doing. Worst case scenario, we can always just roll back to the old one and what the heck t-shirt and then call it a day and say like, well, we never did anything. It works. So it's easy.
The internet never forgets.
Yeah, so. webarchive.org sadly exists. Yeah.
Cool. Anyone else? Yeah, go for it. Hi.
You mentioned earlier on about not experimenting with pricing as early as you should have done. So after 32 months, have you experimented again since then or not?
So that's a good question. So, in our defence, after 32 months, it's now only just over 3 months since we experimented with price. Well, no, actually, so no, we haven't in terms of our headline prices on our website, but we are actually. There's a couple of new things which are a product of so like new integrations that we're doing, which is sort of group pricing, which I guess are separate like pricing adjuncts, but. So no, we haven't in terms of the pricing scheme. We were going to look to this quarter with annual price plans because of the potential cash flow boost from that. So we did a bit of work on that and concluded that now wasn't the right time for that. So have shelved that for another quarter. And so the short answer to your question is no, not yet. I mean, I don't know, if I was on like the stand from a witness perspective, I could probably say, we've done some stuff which does constitute price experimentation, but in terms of the headline prices, we're still gathering, 3 months worth of data. We shortened our free trial actually about a month before the new pricing came out to drop that down from 90 days to 14 days. Actually, I didn't mention that as part of my talk, but that, that could constitute another, if you had like, our 15 biggest mistakes, we put that one in that as well. 90 days was way too long for a trial. No, so I mean, we're still kind of gathering the data on that. But yeah, I'm very confident that it will be far short of 32 months before we experiment again.
Pricing is such a hard one. I think we're always trying to play around with it. It's so hard to even be ever conclusive around it as well, because it's like, oh, we made more money this month, and then they all churn the next month. Or it's so hard to ever be conclusive. I don't know, like, pretty sure you guys have done a fair bit on this, right?
Yeah, I mean, we beat your record by far. Like, we didn't change our pricing probably for 4 years. And then one day we were like, surely we can make more money of like the larger customers, instead of just charging them like $500 or $600 a month. And so what we did was every time we took pricing, we just kind of like increase the pricing until at one point like people were just like pissed off about like the negotiation. And the declic for that was like, I remember we had a contract with PayPal, and then I went there, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to tell them that it's going to be like $120K a year contract. Like I just couldn't say that number without laughing to their face. I had to practice in the bathroom. So I went to him and we actually had a beer talking to him. I said like, so yeah, the pricing is going to be like $10K a month. And he was like, yeah, sure, fine. I was like, fuck me. It could have been way more. And then I actually built a relationship with that guy. And then 2 years later, I was like, so the pricing that I cut you, like, what type of number would you have agreed to? And it was like, oh, you would have said like 30K a month. I would have said yes. I was like, oh my God. So that's kind of like what we always try. It's kind of like higher or lower. Like, we kind of like go high. And then at one point we found like the sweet spots. And so now we have like a pricing calculator. You just put some usage, it spits out a number, and then you play around with a bit of a discount. And now we know that people are not like hungry of like, I'll pay, but I'll churn next month. People are just generally like, pricing is not a big issue for us in general. But the freemium pricing is very much been untouched. I think we bumped the pricing once. We added like 2 plans to kind of like buffer some of the price anchoring, but that's basically it in terms of pricing. But yeah, we've been around for a long time, so if anything, we should have experienced it more, like you said.
Awesome. Anyone else got any questions before we? There's a pillar in the way. I'm sorry. Yes, go for it.
At what point do you say like treat customers like royalty? At what point do you treat customers as liabilities? At what point do they move?
So that's a really good question.
I can add a bit more to that if you want, because like ultimately, when you're getting those customers, you want to retain them, and if there's some form of payment problem, those kind of things, you can understand that. But at some point, their support becomes way more than their contracts worth. So.
Yeah, and your classic kind of 1% of problems, 1% of customers take up 99% of your effort. So, look, it was interesting. So I immediately spring to, so back in July, just after we changed our price plans, so we moved to 4 price plans, £25 a month, 65, 85, and 225. And we got the first kind of customer who said, we're going to pay you 225 a month. So it's like amazing, great day. Exactly like so. It's like you pop the champagne, and it's just amazing. And then we kind of got into it with them, and trying to find a charitable way to describe the guy there, but I can't find one, so I'll just not like use adjectives. You're just like, okay, really demanding, and you over time you just get better at having that kind of like sense about people. So in the end, they were like really demanding, and we kind of just said, no, that's going to happen. We tried to kind of cater to them, and then interestingly, actually had another one a couple of months, not a couple of months, like a couple of weeks ago, in conjunction with a new integration where they were really enthusiastic, and it's funny, like a heuristic I've developed was, anytime someone who's not a software engineer says, it doesn't do this, but we need it to do that, and that's only a couple of hours of development work, isn't it? Like that, as in, if anyone ever says that, like run a mile, and just kind of say it's not going to be worth the effort, which was the case with this person. So like I think probably there is no better, because every product is different. There's no better way of doing it than just kind of learning through experience and knowing that you will get kind of a couple of just huge pains in the arse that you learn from experience. But the most important thing is I guess to identify what made them the pains in the arse, such that you are able to early identify any kind of future potential sort of pains in the arse before before they kind of get to that stage. But I think you're always going to have to go through that, because when it's an early stage company, right, like you just want customers, and so you're going to be like so eager to do it that you're going to overcompensate, and you're going to get those people, and then you learn through experience and the kind of school of hard knocks.
Cool. What about Anders, for you guys at Finimize? Have you ever had to say no to a user? Anyone had too much money they don't need you guys?
You know, like shockingly, that's actually happened a few times where, like so, you know, we're not taking payments yet, but like in terms of features we build, our email news, like our email newsletter goes out to a lot of people who are young professionals, a lot of which work in banking, and those are kind of our early adopters, like our very like most engaged users. A lot of them are fairly well off, to put it that way. And we're doing like user tests with this like financial planning app, and they're like, so where do I enter my trust fund? And that's like an actual feature that comes up multiple times. It's like, and you know, there's things like that you know, there are some like very high wealth people who, you know, realistically for now actual financial advisor would better serve their needs than like, you know, our alpha product today. But you know, you do get those demands. I think the tough thing is those are like our pro users. They're like your most engaged users, are the people who often are kind of the biggest proponents of your brand. They're like your pro users. They need features that the rest of your user base isn't going to need. I think that's true with probably every company. Is, you know, your pro users are going to ask for things. You're going to have to say no to them really nicely. And I think what you need to do is like take the things that everyone else could use that they also want and build those. I think Monzo, like you mentioned, I think they've done a really good job doing that. So like their early like their first users were super like anyone in this room, like they're like tech people who like, you know, love stuff, and they kind of built stuff that, you know, could serve a broader audience, but like pro users wanted. I think, you know, adopting that mentality versus building things that, you know, your most engaged users are going to want, but no one else is going to use,
totally,
so to speak. I don't know.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks. Any other questions, or should we wrap it up? No. Okay. Cool. Well, I think everyone's hanging around a bit. Well, round of applause for our speakers. Thank you so much, guys. Cheers.